In this interview, I got to have a conversation with Ryan Deiss. Now, if you don't know who he is, then you're either living under a rock or a total noob when it comes to internet marketing. So he's one of the OGs. When I say OGs, like he was marketing before the internet existed. And it's really interesting because if you think you ever got Google slapped or algorithm slapped, he got it much worse than anybody and much earlier. So I want you to watch this and also think about how much more difficult it was to do things compared to how it is now, because it's mind-blowing what kind of automation wasn't available back then and what people had to deal with.
The Content Capitalist Podcast.
You're selling something. It was not an information product. 1999. What was the first product that you sold?
The very first product I ever sold was an ebook on how to make your own baby food. This was before Kindle. This was before anybody knew what ebooks were. The backstory was I was just trying to make some extra money as a college kid. I was a freshman at the University of Texas in Austin, where I still reside to this day. And I just needed to make some extra money. And I had a friend who knew some basic web design. I was like, hey, can you show me how to do what you're doing? I got a hacked version of Adobe Go Live, and I put myself out there as a web designer. And having no actual talents and definitely no portfolio, nobody really hired me, except for this woman who is a lactation consultant. Now, I've got 4 kids today, so it's not strange to me at all to think about lactation consultants and all this other stuff. But as a 19-year-old freshman, it was weird to be building a website with like breast pumps and stuff like that on it. To make a long story short, the economy turned, as I think most people are aware, and her husband lost his job and she had to go back to work and basically stop doing her consulting practice. So she's like, hey, I can't pay you for this website. But I was working on this book that I wanted to produce on how to make your own baby food. So she wrote this book and she gave it to me and she said, you can just have it. And I remember at the time being like, what am I supposed to do with this? But I did some search. Back then, Google was basically a science fair project. But like you had Alta Vista and Dogpile and all these early search engines. And you could figure out what people were searching for and how many searches a day and what the competition was like fairly easily. And I found out there were actually a decent number of people looking up how to make your own baby food. And there was almost nothing out there on it, which told me that if I had the one thing, I could charge for it. And so that's what I did. Basically, I took the first chapter of the book and made it the sales page and put a PayPal link at the bottom for $14. I remember posting the website, doing some things to get it ranked. And a day or two later, I made my first sale. A day or two later, another sale happened. And then another one. And I just remember thinking, what if I had 10 of these that were all doing a sale a day? And I started running the math in my late teen, early 20-year-old head. And I was like, this could actually add up to be some real money. And that's exactly what I did. I said, I'm going to publish a bunch of digital products. And by the time I graduated, I had hundreds of these things, had a nice 6-figure income, which I didn't realize at the time was a lot of money. Some years later, somebody told me like, oh, you can never sell an ebook online. Nobody will buy. Nobody will spend $14 for a PDF. I was like, I got a few thousand people who disagree. But that was how it all began. That one little ebook on how to make your own baby food.
Hearing about how people got started is super fun for me, but the useful stuff, the stuff that you can actually apply in your business is what comes next, because this is when we talk about what is working today in 2023, or whenever you're listening to this. What's working today and how can you apply it in your business?
What are you seeing working today really well in the realm of marketing, especially if that overlaps with any kind of content creation, whether it's written word, whether it's video, whether it's podcast, like what we're doing right now in the landscape of marketing? What do you think?
In terms of the content side of things, what we're doing right now, the thing that I'm seeing work is just consistency. I don't think it so much matters the medium. I know people who are crushing on YouTube. I know people who are crushing on TikTok. I know people who are doing amazing on Twitter. I think all of them can work, but none of them work unless you're consistent. That's the brutal piece about what it means to be a creator today that wasn't as much true when I was doing it. If I didn't send my email newsletter for a week or two, it was fine. I could maybe go a month and it would be fine. Send another one, people are right back. You do that today, even an email, which is a bit more forgiving than the social channels. And certainly algorithmically speaking, but you do that today in email, you're dead, you're done. Like your list is gone. Nobody knows who you are. They've moved on, right? Do that in any type of social channel or YouTube. You almost can't miss a day. It's a grind. And so the thing that I'm seeing working is consistency. And so anything that you need to do to put yourself in a position to be consistent, whether it's doing the batch type creation that I know you teach and talk about, and also just finding the channels and the media that you love, I think that's essential. Now, more tactically from the marketing perspective, what we're seeing work, we had one of our biggest breakthroughs this last year, probably that I've had in marketing in the last 5 to 7 years. And for the longest time, I have taught bring somebody in for free, and then slowly march them up. That's how the funnel works, right? Bring them in for a free thing, sell them a low dollar thing, sell them a slightly more expensive thing, sell them an even more expensive thing. That's the classic funnel. Lead magnet, tripwire, core offer, profit maximizer. Talked about it. Russell Brunson took it and turned it into an entire software and movement.
I've actually got the chart that you made for digital marketer because I was in that for a little while, and a beautiful 1-page chart, and it mapped it out perfectly. But now let's hear the update to that.
Yeah, so the update is we're flipping the funnel now. What we are finding in a kind of a post iOS 14 world where ad costs are much higher than they were before is that you really need what it takes to self-liquidate those advertising costs. It's not a low dollar item anymore. In any given market, and I think this is important for everybody to know. So all my backstory, all that other stuff, if that's motivating and helpful, I'm great. If you only take one thing, I hope this is the one, because I think this will make people a lot of money, make them a lot more successful. At any given moment in your market, on your list, within your audience, there are 3 groups of people. There are people who are ready to buy now. There are people who will buy later, and there are people who will buy never. My friend Dean Jackson taught me this. There's now people, there's later people, there's never people. Now, fortunately, the never people are actually pretty small. If they're following you, if they're in your orbit, there's probably a good chance they'll buy from you. Problematic though, the now people are also fairly small, right? The people who are like, I'm ready to buy right freaking now. They've known you long enough to build up trust, and their need for what you have has crossed with their ability to build up trust and relational equity with you. So those are the now people. They're relatively small. The biggest chunk is the later people. So what we need to do is, in any of the marketing that we're doing, we need to be able to suss out the now people from the later people. And that, to me, is the great game of marketing today.
So we did the past, we did the present, and the cool thing about internet marketers, especially the guys on the top, is they have an uncanny ability to see what's coming around the corner just a little bit faster, or maybe everybody sees it, but they're the first people to take action on it. So in this next section, we're going to talk about a little bit of what's coming next and how can you position yourself to take advantage of the advances in technology and in culture and in platforms.
How do you see the future of content creation, especially with the advent of AI becoming so blowing up as fast as it has since November last year? What are your thoughts on that?
So it's funny. I think AI is both everything and nothing. Let me explain. On one hand, AI is simply a tool, right? If you think about ChatGPT, if you think about the video and the image, it's a tool. And I really would liken it to when the first time I used and finally figured out Photoshop. And I realized, oh my gosh, I can make an image look like, oh, you mean I can make the background go away? Like, it was magic. It was magic. And same with a lot of video editing software. It's magic. It takes what is very like somebody with very normal capabilities, and they can produce something amazing. Now, that's existed in video and audio for a very long time. I think what we're seeing is that coming to text in the written word, and that seems to be freaking people out a little bit more. But it's just a tool. To this day, as amazing as video editing is and as amazing as Photoshop is, still the best artists and the best creators produce the best stuff. The tools have risen the bar. They've made it so that more people can compete, but it's still the best ideas and the best execution that wins. And I think that's exactly where things are going to land with AI. I will tell you at the same time, I think it's going to be devastating to large swaths of the creator community. People who were largely regurgitating other people's ideas, folks who were, God help you if you have the types of blogs and websites that I used to have, where we would just pay somebody not that much to put up some kind of okay content so it would rank and you put some ads on there. That's dead. Nobody's going to want that anymore. Everybody's going to be able to get that with a touch of their fingertips. So what's going to win at the end of the day? The same thing that's always won. The best ideas. Having truly unique and original ideas. And I don't mean original in that nobody's ever thought about it before, but presented in a way that nobody's seen it before. Because there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing I've ever said that's truly been original, but I like to think that I packaged it in a way where somebody would go, okay, oh, now I get it. And that's what's going to win. And those are the creators that are going to win. So I think it's going to be incredibly painful for everybody who was in the big bell curve middle. but it was always going to be painful. I think maybe now they either learn a little bit faster or they find a better path faster. Either way, I think everybody's going to be better off.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the podcast recap just as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Now, here's the thing. You're watched all the way to the end, so thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, but most importantly, right around here, there is a screen where you can watch the full 1 hour episode. Don't forget to click that. Also, in the description, there's the full podcast episode if you want to listen while you're working out or driving or whatever else you're doing. I guarantee you, I'll make it worth your time and you will love it. Click and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite platform is, and I will see you next time.